Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Naomi Takeuchi. 4 syllables, pretend it's Italian. Takeuchi. I came into Toastmasters in a very strange way. In fact, I'm glad Kavita Gupta is here. Kavita is the very first person I met at Toastmasters. And what I did is I went to the international conference, or I should take that back. It was the fall conference in Greensboro. Every year we have a fall conference and a spring conference. And this particular conference, the international director, Dilip Abhyasekera, I practiced that one. Dilip Abhyasekera was here in North Carolina. He was the president of Toastmasters at the time, the entire Toastmasters. And I didn't even know what Toastmasters was, but I did know that if this organization was a global organization and it was something that the president was actually going to be here in North Carolina, I think I heard a radio ad. And I walk in, what's the first thing they ask you when you register? They ask you for your name and what club you're a part of. And I remember, because I believe Kavita was in the registration desk, she goes, well, what club are you with? I said, well, I don't have a club. I don't have a Toastmasters club. She goes, you're coming to a conference and you don't have a club? Well, I figured I wanted to know what Toastmasters was about. And I figured the best way to find out is if the president's going to be here. And I had a wonderful experience. And it was a little backwards than most people who are in Toastmasters. Most of the time you find a club and then you start working towards the conferences. So I started off with a big bang and I met the president of Toastmasters. At that conference, I met several people who were professional speakers. And then I asked them, well, what's the difference between Toastmasters and being part of a professional speaking network? And they said the biggest difference is that Toastmasters gives you a chance to practice. So before you get on stage and before you have to present for a paid speaking engagement like Farnoosh was talking about, you have the opportunity to practice and get valuable feedback that can be fed back to you so you can do a much better job as a professional. And what was interesting was that I had just joined the National Speakers Association in October of 2005, and the Toastmasters meeting was in November of 2005. So the journey was somewhat parallel at the time. Now you might be saying, well, why did you decide to become a professional speaker in the first place? Because I could. And if you become a member of the National Speakers Association, there's 3 ways that you can become a member. The first way is that you give at least 20 speeches in 1 year that are paid. So in other words, as long as you can document, you could get paid $10 for that particular speech, and you can only be presenting to one person. It doesn't matter how many people are in the room, it doesn't matter how much you're getting paid, as long as you're getting paid for 20 speeches. The second way is that if you are giving the same number of speeches as part of your regular job. So what you would need to do is you would need to have your supervisor send a letter to NSA saying this is a part of your regular job and you give presentations on a regular basis. And the third way, which hopefully someday I'll make it to this particular way, is that if you can document that you have made at least $25,000 without regard to any number of speeches that you make. So in other words, if you could get paid for one speech for $25,000, you're in. That would be nice, wouldn't it? That's the level of Colin Powell, President Clinton, or former President Clinton. You get the idea. So I made it with the first criteria. I was curious, how about you, Sharon? How did you get in?
The first method, the 20 speeches within 1 year.
And how about you?
It was 20 speeches, but it had a dollar amount associated with it. So I was surprised to hear when you said that.
Well, that was in 2005, so maybe they changed the criteria. What I would suggest is that when you become a professional speaker, I wanted the brand, NSA, National Speakers Association. And unless you talk to some government people who think that you're a spy, most people will respect NSA. I was very blessed because I was teaching for the Duke Certificate Program in Nonprofit Management. So that was how I built my expertise. So another thing is when you become a professional speaker, they're going to ask you, what is your expertise? Who is your customer? And just like with any other business, you have to determine who are you going after. Now, one of the things that I wanted to create was my expertise in strategic planning and business plan development. Another tip that I got for the National Speakers Association is coming up with a one sheet. So all of you have in front of you is a sample one sheet. And this has probably been the best marketing tool that you can have. It's something you can email to folks, you can post it on your website for download. People would say, oh, I need a bio of you. And I say, well, go to my website, download any of my one sheets, and you notice the bio in the lower right-hand corner is the same bio for every single one sheet. So if you take away anything from this discussion today, I would suggest that if you are planning to become a professional speaker, you think about, first of all, what is your topic, what is your key message, who's your audience, and then come up with a one sheet of some sort to create that. Now the other thing that I would suggest is you come up with a solid brand. Now you notice that my brand is 1,000 Cranes, and that had to do with creating the company image, and it's also a tag or a hook that somebody can remember me by. Now you notice that Glenda had a hard time pronouncing my name. That's something that happens very often. So by having 1,000 Cranes, I say all you got to do is Google 1,000 Cranes, I will be on the front page. Or just say Naomi and 1,000 Cranes, you don't have to know my last name. And finally, what I have here, and everybody will have a gift, have a takeaway of some sort. So in my case, I have origami cranes, which are based on the 1,000 Cranes story. So what you do is, if you have this has my name, my website, and my email address. You fold it so that the labels are facing the ground, and that is your origami crane. So people have a takeaway, and they have something to remember me by, and sometimes I get people saying, is the crane lady coming back? Like, I don't care if people think of me as the crane lady, they remember me. And that's what you want as a professional speaker. You want something to remember you by. And of course, hopefully, they'll also remember you for being great speakers. I have some handouts that I can show you later, but I will pass this back over to Ms. Glenda.